You might know that San Francisco is named after St. Francis. Here we are at the Basilica di San Francesco in Assisi, Italy. But there's another church just over there. We're gonna go right over there right after this, down the hill, that the other biggest city in California is named after, Los Angeles. Okay, we're down the hill just 2.5 miles east of Assisi, and now we're at the Santa Maria degli Angeli di Porziuncola. There's a chapel, super tiny chapel, maybe 200 square feet within this church called the Porziuncola, and that chapel is where the Franciscan order was born. St. Francis lived and died here. He's buried up on the hill at San Francesco, but he died here in this chapel. But one of the really cool things about this church is that a couple Spaniards loved this church so much, loved the Franciscan order that was started here, that when they went and explored the New World, a guy named Portola and a guy named Crespi, they came to Southern California, today's Southern California, and they named a river there, El Rio de Nuestra Señora de la Reina de los Ángeles and Portiuncula. They named it after the little chapel in this church, and that river over time became shortened from that big long name to just the Los Angeles River, and eventually a town grew around it, and today that town is known as much bigger than a town. It's a huge sprawling city called Los Angeles. I grew up just a few minutes away. Another really interesting historical tidbit, after St. Francis died in 1226, a few years later, the Pope at the time, Pope Honorius III, said that any pilgrim that makes a pilgrimage to the Porziuncola chapel within this church would be pardoned of their sins. And this is one of the most famous indulgences of the Catholic Church. And around 300 years later, Pope Leo X, in order to finance the building of St. Peter's Basilica, he started handing out indulgences. Basically, instead of a pilgrimage, you would pay money to have your sins forgiven, and thus he would finance the basilica. Well, that really pissed a lot of people off, including Martin Luther, who based his 95 Theses, among many things, against the practice of indulgences, the practice of giving money to get your sins forgiven. He didn't agree with that. And from Martin Luther's Theses started the Reformation, which spawned, Protestantism, Lutheranism, and Episcopalianism and Calvinism and Anabaptism.